طول زمانے بکائی والا فتح یا حسین یا سید الشہدائی لا حسرت ملا کی آوے نہ تل اعترافی زاکیتن معزاکی باقیتن اسرباکی یذہب فی الہجائی یذہب فی الہجائی والا فتح یا حسین یا سید الشہدائی یمن من الحشر ارواح اذ الامام الارواح فی آخر العہد والدار تلک سریت اجماع وزین آل الابائی وزین آل الابائی والا فتح یا حسین یا سید الشہدائی یا لافتہ بنت کسرا قد اوثقوها اسرا كانت بتولا طهرا الأئمة الترا الغرر الأذكياء الغرر الأذكياء وانا فتح یا حسین یا سید الشہدائی یا لا فتح للربابی ذات جون وقت یابی فؤادها فی استرابی دموعها فی انسبابی منشدة للرسائي منشدة للرسائي والا فتح یا حسین یا سید الشہدائی یا لاف کبرا وصغرا کلاہما فی کبرا من دواہی تترا لا تستطیع اس صبرا فی شدت الغمائی فی شدت الغمائی والا فتح یا حسین یا سید الشہدائی صلوات اللہم صلی علی محمد وعلی آل محمد وبارک وسلم کوئی حسین سا دنیا میں دوسرا تو نہیں کوئی حسین سا دنیا میں دوسرا تو نہیں کسی کا راہ خدا میں یوں گھر لٹا تو نہیں کسی کا راہ خدا میں یوں گھر لٹا تو نہیں کوئی حسین سا دنیا میں دوسرا تو نہیں یہ میرے دل کے ہے ٹکڑے، یہ ہے جگر گوشا، یہ میرے دل کے ہے ٹکڑے، یہ ہے جگر گوشا، کسی کو محمد نے یوں کہا تو نہیں، کسی کو محمد نے یوں کہا تو نہیں، کوئی حسین سا دنیا میں دوسرا تو نہیں، خدا کی مرضی پہ تیار سر کٹانے کو، خدا کی مرضی پہ تیار سر کٹانے کو، اٹھائی لاش بہتر مگر تھکا تو نہیں، اٹھائی لاش بہتر مگر تھکا تو نہیں، کوئی حسین سا دنیا میں دوسرا تو نہیں، سلام آخری پھر پڑھ کے نکلے مقتل میں، سلام آخری پھر پڑھ کے نکلے مقتل میں، یہ مطمئن کہ میرا گھر کبھی جلا تو نہیں، یہ مطمئن کہ میرا گھر ابھی جلا تو نہیں، کوئی حسین سا دنیا میں دوسرا تو نہیں، اٹھو حسین گھڑی آ گئی قیامت کی، اٹھو حسین گھڑی آ گئی قیامت کی، سوائے سجدہ کوئی کام اب رہا ہی نہیں، سوائے سجدہ کوئی کام اب رہا ہی نہیں، کوئی حسین سا دنیا میں دوسرا تو نہیں، کوئی حسین سا دنیا میں دوسرا تو نہیں، کوئی حسین سا دنیا میں
حسینی لشکرنا સૌથી છોટા મુજાહિદ مولانا علی اصغر علیہ السلام نے ایک نوحہ છે پیش کرو છો. ڈل گیا سورج شمع جلی، ننا میرا اصغر کہاں گیا رے، ڈل گیا سورج شمع جلی، ننھا میرا اصغر کہاں گیا رے؟ بانو پکاری کوکھ جلی، ننھا میرا اصغر کہاں گیا رے؟ ڈل گیا سورج شمع جلی، ننھا میرا اصغر کہاں گیا رے؟ رات اندھیری سنسان بن، ڈھونڈوں کہاں تجھے اے گل بدن؟ رو رو پکاری ماں دل جلی، ننھا میرا اصغر کہاں گیا رے؟ ڈل گیا سورج شمع جلی، ننھا میرا اصغر کہاں گیا رے؟ وقت مدد ہے مشکل کشا، مشکل کرو حل بہر خدا، تم ہی بتا دو مولا علی، ننھا میرا اصغر کہاں گیا رے؟ ڈل گیا سورج شمع جلی، ننھا میرا اصغر کہاں گیا رے؟ جنگل میں کس جاں تو سو گیا، جھولا ہے خالی اے محل کا، کس کو جھولائے اماں تیری، ننھا میرا اصغر کہاں گیا رے؟ ڈل گیا سورج شمع جلی، ننھا میرا اصغر کہاں گیا رے؟ تیری زمین پر اے کربلا گم ہو گیا ہے بچہ میرا، ڈھونڈ رہی ہوں گلی گلی، ننھا میرا اصغر کہاں گیا رے؟ ڈل گیا سورج شمع جلی، ننھا میرا اصغر کہاں گیا رے؟ دکھیاری مادر جائے کہاں، ویران لگتا ہے سارا جہاں، کرتی ہوئی آہوزاری چلی، ننھا میرا اصغر کہاں گیا رے؟ ڈھل گیا سورج شمع جلی، ننھا میرا اصغر کہاں گیا رے؟ صلوات پڑھیے۔ اللہم صلی علی محمد وعلی آل محمد۔
Assalamu alaikum. Salwa. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Today is the 5th night of Moharram. Our Majalis continues. We will recite more nawaz to mount the great loss in Karbala. Our eyes will shed more tears and our matam will increase. Day by day, the scene of in Karbala is changing. More and more soldiers join the enemy's camp. Thousands have gathered to kill Hussein, the grandson of the Holy Prophet. Bibi Zainab said to her brother Hussein, thousands of soldiers are gathering to fight you. We have hardly 72 men with us. Do you not have anyone to come to help you? My sister Zainab, many wanted to join me during the journey from Medina to Karbala. I politely discouraged them because their intention was not truthful. Many joined and have run away during the journey because they were scared of dying. He continued, Zainab, my sister, falsehood can buy many supporters, but truth has only a few friends. The soldiers on the other side have been bought. They prefer happiness in this world than in the world hereafter. My 72 truthful men have prefer happiness in the world hereafter, and that is why they are with me. That night, Imam Hussein wrote a letter to his childhood friend, Habib ibn Mazahir, who was in Kufa. Kufa was blocked off and nobody was allowed to leave. Habib ibn Mazahir did not know the whereabouts of Imam Hussein until the letter from Hussein arrived at his house. At the time, he was having breakfast with his wife and a young son. Habib read the letter from Hussein. He kissed it and tears began to flow from his eyes. His wife asked him what was wrong. Habib said, I have received a letter from my master, Hussein. He asked me to join him in Karbala. Yazid's soldiers have surrounded him and are after his life. Habib's wife said, Habib, your childhood friend has called you. Your master needs your help. What are you waiting for? Go, Habib, before it is too late. Habib's worry was how to escape from Kufa without being seen. He instructed his slave to take his horse to a farm outside the city and to wait for him there. The slave did as he was told. The slave took Habib's horse to a farm outside the city. He waited for his master. His master was delayed. The slave started talking to the horse. Oh, horse, Master Hussein is in trouble. He needs help. He has asked my master Habib to join him. Master Habib is late. Horse, if he does not manage to escape from Kufa, I will ride on you and go to Hussein's help. At Asr time, most of the men were in mosque. Habib managed to reach the farm where his horse was waiting. He quickly mounted his horse and said, Go, my friend, I'm freeing you from my services. Master, you are not being fair. I have served you faithfully for years. Now I have a chance to serve the son of Bibi Fatima, and you are asking me to go. Why are you denying me a place in heaven? Habib was taken aback by the words of his slave. He was pleased to hear that he had recognized the difference between the truth and the wrongful. He wanted to sacrifice his life for the truth. Habib asked the slave to mount his horse. Together they galloped towards Karbala. Habib reached Karbala late in the evening. Imam Hussein greeted him with great affection. Bibi Zainab heard that Habib had come. She asked her maid Fiza to convey her greetings to Habib. When Habib heard that Bibi Zainab had sent greetings to him, he screamed out in grief and anger. He threw his turban down onto the ground. He slapped his face. Tears rolled down his cheeks as he spoke. What a sad day. What has happened to the household of Bibi Fatima, the princess, granddaughter of the Holy Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam? The daughter of Ali and Fatima is sending her greetings to an ordinary person like me. Yazid, you beast, you tried. What have you done to the household of Bibi Fatima? Days and nights of Moharram passed by, and Ashura came. At dawn, Ali Akbar gave adhan for the last time. Yazid's shoulders blew the trumpets to start the battle. One by one, Hussein's companions went to the battlefield and gave their lives for Islam. Hussein, Abbas, and Ali Akbar were busy from dawn to midday collecting bodies from the battlefield. Between Zohar and Asr time, Habib ibn Mazahir came to Hussein. He said, "My master, Hussein, allow me to go to the battlefield. Let me sacrifice my life for Islam. Habib, my childhood friend, stay with me. You give comfort to me, my friend." Habib persisted with his request. Eventually, Hussein gave his permission. Hussein mounted his friend Habib onto the horse. Habib ibn Mazahir rode into the battlefield. He fought bravely but was finally overpowered. He fell to the ground. As Habib ibn Mazahir fell to the ground, an enemy soldier came over and cut off his head. All the martyrs of Karbala had their heads cut off, but Habib was the first to be cut off by the enemy. Habib's head was not hung on the spearhead like that of martyrs. Habib's head was tied to a horse and pulled along the land of Karbala. Later on in Sham, Habib's head was tied to a horse's neck. A young boy called Qasim followed the horse wherever it went. One day, the man riding the horse asked the young boy Qasim, "Why are you following me around? What do you want?" Qasim just looked at the head hanging from the horse's neck. The man asked again, "Why are you staring at head?" "This head is the head of my father, Habib ibn Mazahir. Please give it to me so that I can bury my father's head." Habib's head seemed to look at his son and say, "My son Qasim, why are you thinking of burying my head? What about the head of Hussein on the spearhead?" Inna ilayhi wa inna ilaihi raji'un.
Salawat. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So just a quick recap of yesterday. We looked at how we treat each other and our impact on the environment. We looked at some Quranic verses, and we also looked at blood donation and how often we are willing to receive them, but we need to think about giving them, especially at a time when the NHS needs more from our Asian community. It's also been said that I should try and do a bit more in Gujarati, so I might dip in and out and try. મને કહેવામાં આવ્યું છે કે થોડું ગુજરાતી કહેજે તો ગોટાવાળું તો માફ કરજો. ગઈકાલે જે મેઇન વસ્તુ શું કીધી હતી કે અલ્લાહે આ દુનિયા ખાલી ઇન્સાન માટે નથી બનાવી, પણ પ્રાણીઓ અને જાનવરો માટે પણ બનાવી છે. અમારી રિસ્પોન્સિબિલિટી છે કે એ લોકોનું પણ ધ્યાન રાખવાનું છે. So who of you has been to Indonesia here? Nobody. Oh, we have one person. Okay, great. So we know where that is, right, in Southeast Asia. So everyone think of a football pitch. We know how big a football pitch is, don't we? And imagine the size of a football pitch on a rainforest. So one football pitch every 25 seconds is being cut down in Indonesia. So that's 144 pitches every hour. And that's based on the Indonesian government department's figures. So we think about what's in those forests: orangutans, tigers, elephants, and of course people, indigenous people who've been there for hundreds of years. There are several reasons for this. One of the main reasons is something called palm oil, which some of you might have heard. You know, on the back of ingredients, you can see it. It's sometimes called palm fat. It's in everything. It's in biscuits, bread, chocolate, cereals, and we really need to try and avoid that and reduce our use of it. There's an organization called Ethical Consumer, and they've done a guide to products that don't have palm oil in, and you can find that online. And it's not just Indonesian, it's not just palm oil, it's our attitude to the natural world. Not all species are just resources to be exploited. And so many plants and animals are becoming extinct every year, which our children will never see, mostly due to our activity. So we said, well, today we'll discuss practical ways of reducing our impact and try and move it more positive. We've each got our own circumstances. You know, we can't all do everything. And so this is just trying some thoughts to get us thinking and think about how we can change our lives to make that small difference. We said yesterday that coal, oil, and gas and burning it is the biggest cause of man-made climate change. So one thing we can do is drive less. Before, having a car was a luxury, I'm sure many of you remember, and then we had one per household, and now we've got one per person. I remember when I was a child, we used to walk into town a mile, you get some fresh air, you get to see people. Now we do those short journeys in cars. पहला ज़माना में आसपास में बोले जाता तो चाली न जाता अब अपने गाड़ी में जाए छे नुकसान करे छे. Equally, cycling or taking public transport, these things are really good. A bus or a train is going to go anyway, whether we sit on it or not, whereas we can choose whether our car stays in the driveway or not. I know sometimes, we do have to drive, and car sharing is good for this. We give each other lifts. These are good things, so more cars don't go. Apni Jamat Mai, when there's an event, we hire minibuses. These are really good things that we need to encourage. If you're buying a car, electric is good, hybrid is good. All these things emit less carbon dioxide, which is going into the atmosphere. On TV, we'll talk about this a bit more tomorrow, but there's a trend now for bigger, sportier, bigger engine cars, and they are nice to drive, I'm sure, but unfortunately they do harm the environment a lot more, and there's a lot of harmful gases that come out of them, particularly from diesel and the air pollution. Flying less. So flying is actually also very bad for the environment. The longer the flight, the greater the impact. And short distance flights are also bad because they both have to take off. And it's that takeoff process that releases a lot of harmful gases. So we can, for short distances, we can consider other methods like the train. We take Edinburgh to London, for example. We used to do this by train, overnight sleeper. Now we take the flight. India, apne pehla Mumbai jata, to Mumbai ma jaine pachi train ma jaye ke bus ma jaye desh ma, Ahmedabad ke Rajkot. But have amne plane lai che. Oh, that's not to say no one goes on holiday. We need a balance, like we talked about yesterday. Before we used to maybe go on a holiday abroad, maybe once a year or something like that. Now we see cheap flights, and again, it's that balance that we're losing, where we can go away so much more cheaply, but at the expense of the environment. In terms of our electricity, a lot of the big energy companies are still funding a lot of this coal, oil, and gas exploration, but there are alternatives available. We could move our homes and our businesses to 100% renewable electricity providers, where the energy comes from wind, from the sun, and from other things. You may even get a better price. You see on the houses sometimes solar panels. These are good things. Buying organic food. So this is food which has less pesticides in, less chemicals in. These chemicals, they harm the plants and the animals that are normally in the farms. And also the chemicals go into the water supplies, the rivers, the lakes, and the impact on the human health from that is not good. Eating less meat and dairy products, just less, we don't all have to quit. So livestock is generating approximately 20% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions, 20%, and some say even higher. We see more and more of these farms. A lot of the feed has become artificial. We use antibiotics. A lot of this feed comes from America. We spoke about rainforests in Indonesia. Equally, a lot of deforestation is happening in the Amazon rainforest just to make food for animals to eat, and those animals we will then eat. And this is why other humans are starving and not getting food in the world. So there's a bit of a disconnect there. And of course, there's animal welfare. If we think about how cheap and readily available the meat is nowadays, we have to think, what is, something has to give. What is the treatment of these animals? We can encourage our politicians and businesses to act. We have individual and collective power as well, persuading MPs, councillors, even places you shop at. I saw a story on the internet about a little girl who wrote to a pizza chain, and she was saying, oh, you've got to stop using plastic straws. And they did. So we can make a difference. Just every little helps. Now, ethical investment is another avenue. A lot of us think that money makes the world go round, right? We can use our money to do good. अपना पैसा साथे अपनी सारी वस्तुमा नाखी सके छे के खराब वस्तुमा नाखी सके छे, and things like renewable energy are good. A lot of the banks, the pension funds, the investment funds, insurance companies, a lot of the big ones, they all fund some of the destruction we've been talking about, but there are alternatives available. There's a bank called Triodos Bank that only will invest in positive industries, and it has an ethical investment criteria. There's also things like credit unions and building societies, and they tend not to invest in such destructive areas. I should add, I'm not a financial advisor, so please take your own advice before doing any of this. But if you've got money to invest, there is a lot more ethical financial advisors out there, which I would really consider you looking at. Some of these organizations, they're conscious of the environment, but sometimes you find they also have other ethical policies. They might not fund weapons companies that fund some of the wars we see today, or some of the human rights abusing regimes, or those big businesses that have a really bad attitude to paying tax. On a small scale, if we're not millionaires, we've got a few pounds and we want to choose what shop we go to. We can choose, let's support the little shops that do better things for the environment. We have that choice. The biggest one is, in my view, is using less energy and buying less products. Now, this is a big topic, and I will discuss this more in detail tomorrow, and inshallah, and the culture that encourages us to buy more and more. Just share with you a few success stories. Ireland, recently first country to say it will sell off all its investments in coal, oil and gas. New York City, it's at risk of rising sea levels and flooding, and it's doing something similar with its pension fund. And it's also suing the oil companies. So is Arnold Schwarzenegger, I read, which is quite interesting. He said the oil companies knew from 1959 on, they did their own study that there would be global warming happening because of fossil fuels. And on top of that, it would be risky for people's lives, that it would kill. Edinburgh University, after 6 years of student campaigning, has done something similar. In Lancashire, we might have family there. There's something called fracking going on, where it's drilling into the ground to get gas. Now, the local council actually rejected this, but unfortunately, our government has overturned this decision and granted a license that, go explore fracking. And you will find protests regularly there at these sites. Now, it's quite easy to think this is just an environmental issue, but I'm just going to paint a picture to suggest why it's not. We know that higher temperatures means more extreme weather. And we know in 2016, the heat wave in India and Pakistan, 53 degrees Celsius it hit. In the Sahel, which is a sub-Saharan region of Africa, it has droughts often that affect millions of people. Tropical storm Erica in 2015 hit the Caribbean. Typhoon Haiyan, which hit the Philippines in 2013, thousands dead and 2 million homeless. And finally, the Pakistan floods we know in 2010, 20 million people were affected and $43 billion of damage. So why am I saying this? What's the common theme here? It is the least well-off and most vulnerable people who are the first to feel the effects of these climate change, and they suffer the most damage. Yet they are the least polluting. Many people in these countries, they can't afford cars, they don't fly very often, they buy less products, use less energy, but they're having a much lower impact in their day-to-day lives than we do in the developed world. So we in the rich world are the most polluting, yet they are going to feel the worst effects. So let's think about the social and the racial injustices from that. And finally, gender. The UN has said that women are more vulnerable to the effects of climate change than men. And that's because most of the world's poor are women, and they face more social, economic, and political barriers than men, which limits their ability to protect themselves from the effects. So it's just something a little bit for everybody to think about, but it's not just environment, there's social justice issues here too. So if we just briefly turn to the story of Karbala and think about how Imam Hussein's followers were deprived of water and food. When we do Ramzan and we've had a long day and we haven't had water for a day, we're pretty tired. It's like, oh my God, can't wait for food and all of that. Can we imagine if that was 3 days and how difficult that must be? And, we always say, oh, we hope it never happens again. But unfortunately, in places like Yemen, we see how the humanitarian aid has been blocked from the people. The oppression of the Palestinian people and Rohingya and other people, it is happening even now. Anyway, I'm sure we'd like to think, water is a basic human right. Everyone needs it to survive. But millions still do not have access to this. And there's lots of deaths from water-related diseases. What can we do? Just little things like reducing the amount of water we use. In this country, we're so lucky. We've got so much. India, so we're very lucky in this country that we've got these things. And I think sometimes we take them for granted. Even I'm guilty of. You might spend too long in the shower or the tap on and do something else, and the water's running. But the Environment Agency earlier this year said by 2050. Unless rapid action is taken to curb water use, there will be shortages of water in this country. I was lucky to go to the Lake District earlier this year, and I looked around, and because of the lack of rainfall, some of the lakes were actually shallower, believe it or not. And some of these lakes actually supply water to neighboring areas. And you might have heard this hose pipes ban in some areas as well. So, it's something to think about here too. And finally, food waste. Again, we said how Imam was saying his followers are deprived of water, but also food. And let us try and take those messages and apply them to the needs of society today. And today, 1/3 of all food produced in the world is thrown away. And that is a tragedy in itself, if we think about how many people are starving across the world. Not just across the world, but we think about how much homelessness has gone up in this country and all the people using food banks in this country. Supermarkets, as a model, in my view, it is not sustainable. We are used to now having a 24/7 culture of food on demand. All the aisles are just filled with food all the time, and this is not good for us, because when the use-by date is up, where does that food go? We don't see it, but it goes in the bin. And this is an injustice when you have so many people who are hungry. Some progress is being made. They are trying to link with charities and other food banks to help them, but I do not think it's sustainable. So we need to look at, like we used to, supporting our local markets, our local farmers, whole food shops, all the things we used to do before supermarkets existed. Looking at more closer to home, our Bora culture, with love, we have traditions of overcooking. We do it with love. But what happened the day after? Jaman bayru rahe ne, પછી next day na koi બીજો આવશે કે કોઈ આપણે બહાર જવું પડે તો ઈ જમણ બિનમાં જાય છે. તો આપણે દિલથી, we do it with love to try and feed others, but at the same time it's having a negative effect sometimes. So it's just a bit of moderation. And finally, when we go to a restaurant, I'm guilty of it. You're really hungry, you've been waiting such a long time. You see the menu like, oh yeah, I order curries. Food comes and we can't finish it all, and it goes in the bin. So this is just something we need to think about. So inshallah, we can take some positive action from all of this and do whatever is within our means to help our environment and all who rely on it. Thank you very much.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تكونوا كالذين آذوا موسى فبرأه الله مما قالوا وكان عند الله وجيها يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلي لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما إنا عرضنا الأمانة على السماوات والأرض والجبال فأبينا أن يحملنا وأشفقنا منها وحملها الإنسان إنه كان ظلوما جهولا ليعذب الله المنافقين والمنافقات والمشركين والمشركات ويتوب الله على المؤمنين والمؤمنات وكان الله غفورا رحيما. In the name of Allah, the
the most gracious, the most merciful. O ye who believe, be ye not like those who vexed and insulted Moses, but God cleared him of the calumnies they had uttered, and he was honorable in God's sight. O ye who believe, fear God and always say a word directed to the right, that he may make your conduct whole and sound and forgive you your sins. He that obeys God and his apostle has already attained the highest achievement. We did indeed offer the trust to the heavens and the earth and the mountains, but they refused to undertake it, being afraid thereof. But man undertook it. He was indeed unjust and foolish, with the result that God has to punish the hypocrites, men and women, and the unbelievers, men and women. And God turns in mercy to the believers, men and women, for God is oft forgiving, most merciful. Sadaqallahu al-aliyyul azim wa sadaqa nabiyyuna Muhammadun sallallahu alayhi wa alihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa halul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A very quick recap. It's always good to refresh the mind. We have a very short time today, inshallah. Allah, yesterday we talked about enjoying truthfulness, sadiq, to the utmost degree, even if it is against ourselves, parents, kinsfolk, persons who are most dear to us. This cultivates justice and fairness. Another name of Allah, Adal. Yeah. So Sadiq is a name of Allah. Adal is Allah is also Adal. And then we talked about family is the basis of social life. The role of parents with their children in extended family. Parents as guardians of their children, but not owners of their children, is a very particular word that the Quran uses, that parents are guardians of children. They are not bosses of children. There's a lot of difference in that. You need to understand that ayah a little bit better, or something to ponder about. The responsibility of children for their parents, how to deal with them with respect and love. Then we have got the marriage as the foundation of family life. Both husband and wife have complementary responsibilities towards each other and their family. They are garments for each other, and Allah has ordained affection and mercy in their union. In marriage that is sound and understanding and full of understanding leads to a stable family, and by extension a stable community. So I've just read one particular ayah, the last but one, and I will repeat that again. So I read from the Quran, Surah Ahzab, the last few verses. And verse number 72 is a very interesting one. Indeed, we offered the trust to the heavens and the earth and the mountains, and they declined to bear it and feared it, but man undertook it to bear it. Indeed, he was unjust and ignorant. Let's explore that from a different perspective. If we ponder and reflect on this verse, the word used by Allah is amana, amanat. Apre amanat samajhe. Amanat is a trust. Somebody gives you something, you make sure that the same thing goes back to the person. For example, if I am giving you 20-pound note as an amanat, you cannot change that 20-pound note with another 20 pound. You have done a difference in there. You're going to give the same 20 pound back to that person whose it is. So if I put it in my pocket as your amanat, I've got to make sure it's the same note going back. I can't change it with another 20 pounds. It's still the same value. It's not about the value, it's about the process. So amanat is a very strong word that Allah has used it. So Allah asked, what we have to remember is, you see, like Aqeel talked about, but if you explore what he's talking about, then there's quite a deep thing he's talking about. Allah has created everything, we know that. Most of these things that Allah has created do not talk back. So we think they don't exist. We take it for granted. You know, a lion is, you only think about a lion when it roars at you. Otherwise, you forget there's a lion out there. Yeah. Mountain is being created by Allah. The sea has been created by Allah. The sky has been created by Allah, etc., etc. Yeah. So Allah asked the mountains, So he's talking to the mountain, yes? When somebody asks a question, you're talking to something. Then Allah asks the heavens as well, according to the surah. But they refuse. Allah says, I want to give you the trust of the world to you. But they refuse. They said, we can't bear this burden. It's too much of a burden. But man rises up and he says, I will do it. When then Allah says at the last bit, because man is unjust, in that man is not knowledgeable. The word used there is quite amazing. Allah accepts man's responsibility he has taken, but he also says and qualifies what a human being is all about. And we are seeing what is happening in the world today. We are unjust and we are without knowledge. Because we do the action, then we think about the consequences. But God hasn't given us that capacity to understand to the full extent. He hasn't given us the wisdom, the hikmat of understanding that. But He has given us tools to do that, to understand and explore that. So, the difference between the human being and the other creation is, the other creations have no choice but to do what is within their instinctive nature. So the mountain sits there because that is in its nature to sit there. And what the mountain is being created for is to balance the revolutions of the world. It puts a weight. There is as much mountain on the top as there is underneath. Yes? Don't think that the mountain is only what you see on top of the land. There is as much mountain under as well. There are bigger mountains in the sea than you can imagine. Deeper mountains than the Everest in the sea. But we don't know because we can't see. That is why in the Quran, Allah says many times, go deep into the sea to see what is going on there. And so, human beings and jinns, on the other hand, can make choices to act differently. As such, they've been given a sense of right and wrong, good and bad, best and worst, justice and grace. This freedom of choice allowed by God is the amanat, the trust, and makes us vicegerents, the Khalifa of Allah on the earth. So when you are a Khalifa, then you are responsible. You are the leader. You have automatically accepted. We haven't, but our forefathers have, unfortunately. Adam alayhi salam accepted the challenge from Allah. So we have to bear the burden of that. And here we are, however many years later on. So greatness, which a human being is a great creation of Allah, is probably not the best creation, but that's what human beings like to think because they are quite arrogant. So they like to think they are the best of creation. But that's not necessarily true. Even Aqeel said yesterday as well that we are not the best creation. There are better creations than us. But so with greatness comes at the price of responsibility. To maintain the balance and equilibrium of peace, fairness, justice, and sustainability of the environment. A truly difficult task for us as human beings do not possess absolute wisdom, again, hikmat, and knowledge, which is ilm. That is why at the end of the ayat we are described as unjust and ignorant. God is kind and has given each one of us a capacity for introspection. This is where the tool is now. The tool Allah has given us is introspection. That is to review our position from time to time for a particular action in terms of, am I doing good? Am I just? Am I unjust? In other words, a conscience. So we talked about conscience yesterday as well, very briefly. And this in the Quran, conscience is described as nafs al-lawwama. It is Surah number 75, verse number 2, which is the Surah of Qiyamah. And Allah talks about Nafs al-Lawwama. And this leads to taqwa, which we talked about at length yesterday. So we have a link now. We have a link now. So you have the conscience rising, then you go to taqwa, which is God consciousness, and it starts thinking about what is going on here. Let's get one thing clear. What are we here for? What are we as a community? What are we here for? We are trying, hopefully, trying to understand God. Yes? That is what our journey is, to understand God, isn't it? There is nothing else to do. There is no point in lamenting about Karbala for as many years as your life is as long without getting any nearer to God. What is the point of that lamentation? Hussein doesn't want your lamentation. He's not devoid of that lamentation. He's not there to see it. Fine. I find it quite interesting that in all the communities that do this kind of activity, there is always a sawab attached to that. But that the sawab has a negative effect on the human being. If it had a positive effect, I would embrace it all the way. It has a negative effect because it makes us go to sleep in terms of the mind. We think, okay, આપણે Majalis Hussain alayhi salam ni kari લીધી, we are done and dusted. 12 દિવસ પછી આ કાનમાં done and back to square one. Do whatever you are doing. No. Take it as a good opportunity. It's a wonderful opportunity of these 10, 12 days of getting together, talk about something which, like Aqeel mentioned, practical things, practical things to change. It's an opportunity to change our way of thinking, our way of life. If you think there is something wrong, like for example, when you do Ramadan, it's an opportunity to give your body a rest and think about, ana khaye to challenge. I'm getting more energy by not eating that. You get that feeling in Ramadan. You get that feeling. The body responds to you during the fast. It responds to you. And Moharram is a great period because Moharram is the time when we can talk with each other. We can converse. When do we have a time to converse? We haven't got that sort of time. How many majlises do we do in a year? Not that many. So Moharram is a beautiful time because you can link the whole of the 12 days together and bring quite a good message across. And I would hope that this is where we are going. We are trying to recognize God. That is what we want. Hazrat Ali said, Saluni, Saluni, ask me before I disappear from your sight. Before I disappear from your sight, ask me. Now look at that personality of Hazrat Ali. I haven't got the capacity to talk about it. How are we doing him injustice, great injustice. But what he says, there is only that one human being who has made that call. Nobody else. Even the Prophet did not make that call. Only Ali had the capacity to make that call. Ask me and I will answer you before I disappear. And he is even gone to the extent of saying that if all the whales, Pardo, Allah na Sidratul Muntehano je Pardo che, there is a veil before you can go to in the presence of Allah. It is known as Sidratul Muntaha. It is in the Quran. That word is in the Quran. That veil, Ali says that if that veil was removed and he was standing right in front of God, his iman would not change even a little bit. Subhanallah, if you think about that. That is a remarkable thing to say for a human being. Because if I, for example, I haven't got the capacity, but if I was to see God, for example, it would change me. But Ali says that he will not change even a little bit. So he is already with God. He is already with God. See, that is why when he was killed in the mosque, he did not, like what I would probably do, catch that dushman of mine, sort him out. But he said, no. Forgive him, give him a glass of water. Doesn't matter. He was already with God. That is where we need to be. That journey, that is the journey. Hussein was already there as well. આપણે બધું હુસૈન વાસ્તે કરીએ છીએ, we do eulogies etc. Fine, that's okay, but think about where Hussein is coming from. He's the son of Ali, and it was only Hussein's family, Ali's family, that is all in Karbala. Whose family is it then? It is all Ali's family. All the Bani Hashim is all Ali's family. Zainab, his daughter, Hussein, his son, his other sons are there as well. Hassan alayhi salam's sons are there. They're all family, but they are all Ali's sons. But you can imagine if Ali was that powerful, what he must have taught these people as well. But they were already ready. They were ready much before they even got there. They made the journey. The journey was made for a very particular. Somebody asked me a question a while back, that Hussein could have avoided the war altogether. He could have said, no, I'm not bothered. Why do I want to give my life? But then that is going away from the responsibility, isn't it? See, with greatness comes responsibility. Understand that he was already in communion with God. He knew what God wants. Hussein knew what God wants. And from that perspective, if you look at it, we need to go towards God. Fine. We have so many mazhabs in Islam, yes? 73 now, I think. Probably more now with so many. But 73 to at least 4 thaiche. Everybody has got their own say. We have our own say as well, because we have a fiqh as well. We have rules and regulations. The rules and regulations are there to make the journey hopefully easier, hopefully. It doesn't necessarily make that. The journey is God. That is the journey. But that doesn't mean to say that you stick to the madhab if it is stopping you from getting to God. Because you have to find ways within the madhab to be able to get to God. But if it is stopping you, then you are losing your journey. The journey is getting lost. So, I'm going to change the subject now. I'm going to come back to this towards the end, because there's something very nice I want to talk about this. So I won't do it now. I'll do it a bit later on. So yesterday we also talked about namaz. A quick recap on that. So namaz is salah is namaz, dua, and dhikr. Yeah, and it cultivates taqwa, which is God consciousness. Praise is a good practice, and I said to you, do it in smaller doses if you can't do it all of it together. So if you can't do the Zohar Sunnah, then Faraz, and then Asr Sunnah, then Faraz, and because of time constraints or whatever, do the Faraz, get off the Masalla, do whatever you need to do, and come back to Masalla afterwards for the next namaz. I'm not encouraging that, but I'm trying to be more practical about it. Be practical about it, yeah. So don't go around saying, Moiz said that, oh, સાથે નમાઝ ના પઢો તો ચાલે. No, I'm not advocating. હું એમ નથી કહેતો, હું એમ કહું છું કે નમાઝ તમે પઢો, ફરીઝ હતી તો ડેફિનેટલી પઢો, પણ ખાલી ઝોહરનું ફરજ પરાતું હોય ને એટલો જ ટાઈમ હોય તો એટલું જ કરો, પછી અસર વસ્તે પાછા આવો. It's a very good practice. It's a good practice. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not advisable from our fiqh point of view, because આપણા લોકોની ઝોહર ને અસર, ઈશા, મગરીબ ને ઈશા, we are business people, you see. We have to quickly get out of it. Well, basically, that's true though. That is very true. We are business people. We need to get on with things. We need to make that money quickly. So આપણે જલ્દી ઝોહર ને અસર પડી લ્યો, મગરીબ ને ઈશા પડી, જે કરવું એ કર્યા રાખો. So that's the bottom line of it, you see. But when you do the namaz, do it with khushu and khudu. So what does it? What is khushu and what is khudu? Yeah, when you stand in front of your master, how do you stand? If you were in the presence of the queen, how would you go and stand there? It's just an example. How would you go and stand there? You wouldn't do this, would you? Would you do that? I don't think so. You would, yeah. You are in front of your master when you are praying. He created you. So there is no greater master than God, is there really? God is the ultimate. You are standing in front of him. So how would you want to stand? You want to stand in humbleness. You want to give give himself to you. You want to give up to him. You don't want to think about. So sunnat comes in, you start preparing yourself because the farz is more important. Yeah. So you prepare yourself and you get your focus correct. So the khudu and khushu is quite important in namaz. Namaz starts at takbiratul ihram and it finishes on the taslim, which is the assalamu alaikum. Yeah. So that in between you are in communication with God. So it is a communication. So what I'm trying to say here now is કે આપણે નમાઝ પઢીએ તો ખુશુ ખુદુ સાથે પઢીએ એટલે ઘણી નરમાશથી અલ્લાહના સામે ઊભા રહીએ. Because એ તો તલબગાર તો આપણે છે ને, અલ્લાહને તો નમાઝથી કાંઈ ફરક નથી પડતો. He doesn't get anything from it. Not even an iota. It is only for our own benefit, only if we understood that. All these are for our own benefit. Allah does not require all this, but He has made vehicles. એવી જગ્યા બનાવી આપણા વાસ્તે કે આપણે ત્યાં જઈએ તો આપણે એને હોપફુલી મહેસૂસ કરી શકીએ. That's the idea behind it, કે આપણે અલ્લાહના નજદીક થાય. અલ્લાહના નજદીક થવામાં ફાયદો એટલો જ છે ખાલી કે you become, આપણી જિંદગી સુધરી જાય છે એમાં. That's all that happens. And happiness is something which we seek, don't we? As human beings, we seek happiness. આપણો જરિયો આપણો હેપીનેસ નો હોય છે ને કે આપણે ખુશ રહીએ, ખુશહાલ રહીએ. આપણે દુઆ એવી જ કરીએ છીએ કે અલ્લાહ બધાને ખુશહાલ રાખે. So this makes you happy. It makes you happy from inside. When you're happy inside, you show it outside as well. Inshallah. And so we talked about what you miss. Do it again. Don't let the fariza of the day go away. Do it in qadha. That is why there is an allowance for qadha as well. Otherwise, what is the point? આપણે qadha ની નિયત આવતી જ નહીં ને, જો એ allowed ના હોત તો. પણ qadha ની નિયત એટલે આવે છે કે because you can do your prayers retrospectively. Because you missed it. And get that into that practice. Once you do it, it's so easy. It becomes so easy. Because just like I said yesterday as well, just like you do not lose your money when you are giving in charity, there is no loss in you. Exactly the same way, and mark my words, I believe this, I experienced this as well, that when you do namaz, you are not losing your time. Actually, you gain time. You will be surprised how much time you gain when you do namaz. And that is my personal experience, okay? That is my personal experience. So, so namaz starts with wudu, which is a very, very important thing. Yes, don't forget this wudu business here. It is quite essential because without that, you can't go onto the masala. And it starts with the niyat, intention. Everything in Islam is about intention. Everything is about intention. આપણે કોઈનું ખરાબ બોલવું પણ હોય તો આપણે ઇન્ટેન્શન કરીને આગળ વધ્યા. કાંઈ ઓફ ધ કફ તો નથી આવતું ને, કાંઈ વિચાર કર્યો પછી આપણે અને કોઈનું સારું કરવું હોય તો આપણે ઇન્ટેન્શન છે. સો એવરીથિંગ ઇન ઇસ્લામ ઇઝ ટુ ડુ વિથ ઇન્ટેન્શન. સો ઇન્ટેન્શન ઇઝ વેરી વેરી ક્રિટિકલ. અને that's why we have niyas. We are very fortunate as a community, by the way. આપણે વુઝુમાં પણ દુઆ છે. There are many communities, they don't have any duas in wuzu. They have only actions. They have no duas at all in wudu. We are probably the only community who have actually got duas in wudu. And if you read those duas, it makes you think what you are going to do just now, soon after. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. We should be thankful to the duas who have done this. We should be thankful, honestly. Because the Ishnashri community, if I can just share this information, when we went for Hajj, some of our people had taken the Kitabu Salat with them, and they were quite curious. Okay, what is this book all about? Because it says Kitabu Salat, and thought, oh, okay, namaz nu skai hase hoisi. That's quite straightforward. So they started looking into it, and they said, oh my God, you have actually got dua with the wuzu. We don't have that. They are actually going to soon adopt that. So we don't, you know what I'm saying? So we have some very, very beautiful things we know in our fiqh, very beautiful things. And sometimes we take it for granted, I think. We don't appreciate what we have got. because we don't understand. Problem is we don't understand. We have never taken the શું કહેવાય કે આપણે કોઈ દિવસ છે ને એના પર કોઈ જાતની તવજ્જો કર્યું જ નથી કે આપણા કેટલું સારું છે, આપણામાં કેટલું and it's a brilliant thing. So wudu na pehla there is something called ghusl as well, and ghusls are quite important. They are also compulsory because before you can do the wudu you have to do the ghusl. So ghusls to be performed to purify oneself before namaz. So there is a ghusl compulsory after copulation between a man and a woman, and obviously for both of them. There is a ghusl for the menstrual cycles for the women. There is a ghusl after childbirth for women, which is the ghusl of Haid. And that in our books is for 40 days for the women. Then there is a ghusl for a person who is reverting to Islam. And then there is a ghusl as well to be performed after you have made ghusl of a mayyat. Yeah, which people who do the ghusl of janazas, and they have to do their own ghusl as well. But that is because a dead body is considered to be najis. Yeah, because there is no soul in it. So najis is something which is considered to be unclean. So if you are near an unclean thing, then you have to do ghusl about it. So that is why there is a ghusl after performing the ghusl of a mayyat. Hopefully, we can probably move in that direction forward by, for example, wearing something where you don't get the najis on your body. So probably overalls of some sort or whatever. But I don't know. At the moment, the fiqh is on the basis of do the ghusl, and then you join whatever prayers you are joining. So now there is the compulsory namaz we have looked at. Optional namazis are to do with, for example, Eidni namaz che. Eidni je namaz be rakat ni che, it is a celebratory namaz. Tame miss kairi hoy to you don't need to repeat it because it's a sunnah namaz. It's sunnati, farizat ni namaz nati. And Eidni namaz is very interesting. Eidni namaz always masalla upar. Masalla is not the masalla. Masalla in Arabic means an open space. That is what masalla means, open space. So if you look at other communities, when they perform Eid namaz, they try to perform it either in the largest possible mosque or out in the open. And that is called a masalla. Yeah. And apra imamona zamanama Egypt na andar e loka masalla jata in a procession to deliver the Eid khutbah and the Eid namaz. So Eid namaz cannot be prayed individually. Quite interesting. Eid namaz should be prayed in congregation because that is a celebration. How can you celebrate? You're celebrating on your own. How can you do that? I don't know. I've tried it. It doesn't work. I can't celebrate on my own. I need somebody there to celebrate with. Yes. I mean, I don't know whether it works for you, but it doesn't work for me. So it's a celebration namaz. So it should be prayed together. So it's quite an interesting thing in there. And what also is quite interesting as well is that wow, that is okay. I have to stop there. I might continue this tomorrow. Sorry, because there's something quite important I want to say. I've got only one minute and a half. Dr. Muhammad Iqbal, known as a poet of the East, 1877 to 1938, and he's written some beautiful things about Imam Hussain, which I would like to share with you very quickly. So he goes like this. जिस तरह मुझको शहीद करबला से प्यार है, हक ताला को यतीमों की दुआ से प्यार है. Okay, for those who don't know Urdu, just as God the Almighty loves to listen to the invocation of the orphans, Dr. Iqbal has the same kind of love for the martyr of Karbala. Yeah, that is how he compares the martyrdom of Karbala. गरीब और सदा और रंगीन है दास्ताए हरम, निहायत इसकी हुसैन इब्तिदा है इस्माइल. Very powerful statement that is. This relates to the construction of the Kaaba. Very simple and an interesting construction if you think from an Islamic perspective. Yeah? Prophet Ismail alayhi salam, son of Ibrahim alayhi salam, suffered great pains in his construction. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam purified, purged it of the idols and raised back its glory. So the first stone was laid by Ismail alayhi salam. Indeed, he offered for sacrifice his own life. The story, as you know, culminates into Hajj. Yeah, that is what he's talking about. But by God's command, the sacrifice was not completed, and it was replaced by a ram, which is what we practice as Bakraid. In the Quran, there is mention of Zibhil Azim, yeah, which is yet to come. And according to Dr. Iqbal, this was not completed by Ismail, but it was completed by Ismail alayhi salam's descendant, who is Hussein alayhi salam, to preserve the dignity of the Holy Kaaba. Yeah. So the Zib al-Azim that the Quran is talking about is the martyr, the Hussein's martyrdom in Karbala. Because Ismail's Zib al-Azim did not happen, but Imam Hussein's did. Subhanallah. And then finally, Sidke Khalil bhi hai ishq, Sabre Hussein bhi hai ishq, Marikaye wujud mein Badr or Hunain bhi hai ishq. So love of Allah manifests itself in many ways. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam had to suffer many difficulties in the cause of Allah. He accepted being thrown into the fire, and the fire blossomed into a garden by Allah's command. Yeah, very nice story in the Quran. Our Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam conquered in the battle of Badr and Hunain through his ardent love for Allah. Badr is supposed to be, we do a particular prayers for Badr as well, which is our 13, 14, 15 je kariye che ne. So 13 je che, that is the Badr, about the battle of Badr, when they say that the Muslim community became a nation. So similarly, Imam Hussein alayhi salam showed his patience in Karbala, where with his family and comrades suffered the pangs of 3 days of thirst and willingly sacrificed his life for the cause of truth and the love for Allah. So love for Allah is a quality, a force, an impetus which creates in us extraordinary patience and forbearance. And we recite this every time. So we say that Allah ne asa dua kariye che ke Hussein karta humne koi vadare gham na apjo. We say that whenever we end the Majlis, that is what it means. It's Hussein's suffering was of such a kind that you learn from it how to be patient, how to forbear. Yeah? So there's a great lesson in there. There's a great lesson. Jazakallahu khair. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidun Majid. Salawat.
We can't do it. We can't do it.